This is Jackie Shaw from Get Organized and Brass Jacks, and I'm here with Jake Harris. He's going to talk to us about a product that he has developed, and I'm super excited to share it with y'all because I think that some of you, this is going to be the thing that you've been missing that you really need. So, Jake, take it away and tell us about your product.
So this is really a product that was birthed out of our industry. I mean, I've been a remodeler for the last 16 years, first commercial, then going to residential. And I always struggled with cash flow, not only being able to manage my own, but I also realized that people outside of my organization could control and negatively impact cash flow. And I said, there's got to be a better way. We've got technology, we've got solutions. We need to really build something. So we took it upon ourselves. I was using a lot of project bank accounts, opening Wells Fargo bank accounts, and really, and then dedicating each one of those to each project. I realized the technology had advanced to the point where we could actually make them smart, and I start using smart contracts in combination with project bank accounts. And so that's what we did. So we made the world's first smart project bank account, and we called it aptly BuildWallet because that's what it is. It's literally a smart project bank account. And I'm really excited because I'm very passionate about this industry. I love it a lot, and I want to help other people. And if you're frustrated with cash flow, if, like you said, if this is the part that you're missing, I think this could really help generate a lot of better trust, more support, less risk, and help us build faster. And that's the goal. That's what we're here for.
What are smart contracts for those people listening that don't really know what that term means?
Smart contracts are amazing. So in simple software and simple technology, you have to tell the technology what you're going to do. You have to go do the thing, and then you have to go tell it what you did. Smart contracts are something where you tell it what to do, and then you push a button, and it does it by itself. So you can use smart contracts for everything from the distribution of payments to assignments of role responsibilities. You can actually cascade them. You can actually put them on top of each other so that once something starts, it follows a progressive path all the way down to the completion. So I'm really excited, and I think smart contracts have been underutilized up until this point. But once you understand that if you're process oriented or systems oriented like I was, I fell in love. I fell in love with the capability, with the tools. And it's just that it's a tool that allows you to take something and say, you know what? I don't want to have to keep doing this time and time and time and time and time again. I'm going to set it up, and then when I push a button, it's going to do it, and it's going to automatically update everybody, real time, active currents. And so those two technologies put together, the project bank accounts and smart contracts, allow us to hold the funds, which is how we do when just like a regular bank account, it's holding the funds funded by the owner or the lender, funded by the owner or lender for the project. But the smart contracts are the distribution. So smart contracts, smart subcontracts, and they look very much just like a regular subcontract. Like you can literally program it down to, what the invoice is going to look like. $1,000 to start, $1,500 when you're halfway done, and the other $1,500 when you're finished. And so that is a very simple explanation of a technology that I think is coming to improve our industry.
So basically, we set up the contract, whether it's with the client or with the subcontractor, and we say exactly what's going to happen. And then the automated system takes over from there, and it'll just take care of things for us. And when we do have to interact with it, as you told me before, it's sort of a one button click.
It's a digital agreement with programmable payments. That's the definition that I resolved on that I think makes the most sense.
Mhm.
Digital agreement with programmable payments. So you're setting it up, and you're getting into the automation. All of us love to have automation because it allows us to do more. It allows us to trust that what we said was going to happen is really going to happen because you're using tools instead of just writing down a manual process that everyone has to follow. You're using tools that set that process up on rails, and then they have to follow that way. So smart contracts are I think, a missing part of what we're doing as an industry. And I think the more that we can roll them in, the more we'll be able to scale, the more we'll be able to go lean, and the more we will have less human error, less human input, and be able to do more with it. We'll let the robots do what the robots can do, and let the humans do the important stuff. That's really what I'm excited about, is that we're finally getting some automation in this industry that's actually valuable, as opposed to not, because construction has been lagging behind for years on our lack of adoption, lack of automation, lack of lack of genuine improvement. So I'm excited that this is actually going to help us and truly help us.
Yeah. And what Jake's saying is putting the rails on it, no more gutter balls, no more gutter ball projects, right? We shouldn't have that happening. So what bank are you actually using for these bank accounts?
So there's two banks that have really come into their own as far as the technology is concerned. It's JP Morgan and Evolve Bank and Trust. So if you're on the cutting edge of financial technology, you're going to be in one of those two banks because they recognize the fact that technology and banks are very antiquated systems, right? So they typically don't want to advance. They don't want to do anything that advances us and makes things happen faster. But these two banks realized that if they could get ahead of the curve and make technology simple and easy to use and also provide a platform for technology providers like myself to build upon, they could have they would open more accounts, we would open more accounts with them, and they'd be able to move forward. So Evolve Bank and Trust, and that's a really good point. A lot of people ask us and they say, well, Jake, where is the money in BuildWallet? Where is every BuildWallet held, and how does everything is in a bank? Everything has FDIC insurance, everything is in a real bank account. And I think that's a fundamental difference, is that we're not in a cryptocurrency or DeFi or disinterested situation, but that we're actually still holding everything in a bank. But in 2021, the government changed the rules and allowed smart contracts to work with banks. And that is the first time in history that we're using technology to move money between bank accounts in the Evolve Bank and Trust. So that's the really cool thing with that OCC 1174 was the rule that was changed in 2021. So cool stuff, and they're trying to help us.
So things when we had our meeting and there's a demo video that you created, like an overarching video explaining how BuildWallet works, and we're going to include that along with this video for people to watch. But one of the things that you're rescuing the remodeling construction industry from is those subcontractors that are chronically late at invoicing. Can you tell us a little bit more how you solved that problem for us?
It came down to aligning the objectives of the subcontractor with the objectives of the contractor. And so if you're familiar, we brought some psychology into this, and we sat there and said, most people will argue, and I think everyone in your group will argue as well, my subcontractors hate technology. With all due respect, your subcontractors hate your technology because it doesn't accomplish for them what they want to do. And so we realized that if we could close the habit loop tighter, in the habit loop, you have the psychological habit loop, you have a trigger, you have an action, and then you have a reward. Well, the trigger is the superintendent's yelling at the sub to submit the paperwork, to submit the invoice, to submit the document. And then they do the action. And then the reward is so far away from another place. The check comes in the mail. They get this random deposit. They don't understand. And so we've broken the habit loop. And what they teach in psychology is that if you keep it all nice and tight. So in BuildWallet, and that's part of the 4-step process, the invoice part of it, when the subcontractor has reached the preset invoice, they go ahead and they open their phone. We made it just as simple as Facebook and all the other social media. It needed to be super simple in order to be adoptable. They open their phone, they take photos of work that they've finished. Now, these photos represent the milestone that they've reached to say, hey, I've met this milestone, I've met this criteria, I should reach this preset invoice. And they open their phone, they take these geotagged photos, and then they hit submit. Well, by hitting submit, that's an invoice. That sends it to the contractor. The contractor receives it, and then they can hit one of two buttons, either approve to pay or you've got a punch list. And so you're either going to, in 12 seconds when they hit approve to pay, the sub's going to get their money because it's already loaded in that smart contract, that programmable invoice, and it's ready to go for them. So, and if there's a punch list, then that same phone app that they uploaded the invoice is going to ding back at them and say, hey, great job. I need you to fix this. I need you to fix this. I need you to fix this, which then opens the invoice again and allows them to resubmit with new photos. So we're really taking our process, which we learned over 17 years now as being a contractor, and taking it and putting it into and using technology that we can use and everyone has. You may not have, closed-toed shoes all the time with boots with the holes in them, but everybody's got a smartphone and everyone knows how to use it. So with the phone, that habit loop is closed. This is where I'm submitting my invoices. This is where I'm getting my payments. It's coming right to my phone. It's dinging me. It's real time. It's right there in front of me. And the second that I submit the invoice, as soon as that superintendent pushes the button for approve to pay, it's literally dinging me and saying, you've been paid, right? So you've got a PayPal or a Venmo app element to this with the digital payments, which is the subcontractors understand that if I understand how to use this technology, this is how I'm going to get paid. I want to learn how to use this.
For the subcontractors, this is what you're describing as instant gratification. Either they get the money immediately or they get feedback immediately. And it's not a week or two later that they're like, oh, well, you got to go back and do this or that. They're finding out within moments if their work was accepted. For those contractors who are starting to have heart palpitations and panic because they're like, I might not have the money. How will we know that they will have the money to pay the sub?
That's a great question. And we have that question all the time. And I think that we needed to put the responsibilities back on the responsible party. So the owners or lenders, the owners are the ones who are responsible for funding the project and making decisions and providing input and review for us. So the way that the workflow works, right now, this is hard code. This is coded. You can't break this. So the way the code works is that the owner is the one who's going to fund the subcontract. And that is the start of the workflow. So when the owner sits there and says, hey, why don't you go ahead and start phase two? They say, great, let's fund phase two and give me the funds that I need to go ahead and to engage the subcontractors and the subcontractor and suppliers in the work. And so we use technology and financial automation to go ahead and make the owner start the workflow by funding the phase or funding the work that they really want to do it. So again, no contractor will be putting their own money into the project. This is funded by the owner or the lender, and then the subcontractor and the contractor create this smart subcontract. The subcontractor does the work, the contractor approves it, and then when all of the smart subcontracts are complete for the phase, the contractor submits to the owner and says, hey, the work's done. Can you approve it? And then the owner approves it, releasing the overhead and profit to the contractor. So it was only through deep introspection, right? And like I said, over 15 years of being in this industry, that I was able to understand all the different avenues, all the different problems, all the different pressure points, all the different issues that came about in this industry, and really create a solution. Because somebody who's only been in this for a year or 2 years wouldn't know all the different pain points, wouldn't know all the different pressure points and all the different issues that come up with it. And it was like, okay, we need to create a solution that works for everyone, and then not just use it for ourselves, but also then turn around and provide it for the industry.
And you had told me that the bank accounts that BuildWallet creates for the user is kind of jointly owned, right? By the a homeowner and the contractor. They each have kind of joint ownership over this account, right?
Yes. And so there's two parts, right? You really break it into two different parts. You have the project bank account, which is owned by the owner. So that's still their money, right? They're putting the money in, and then they are responsible for transferring money from the project bank account to the smart contracts and funding those. Because again, what is a smart contract? It's a digital agreement with programmable payments. Well, in financial automation, you need to load those payments so the contractor can release them at the time of submission. And also, just to be clear, a lot of people ask us and say, well, will the owners see everything that we're paying? No. If you have a $5,000 agreement with the owner for a specific scope of work, you can issue a subcontract less than that amount and make that profit on top of that line item. Now, to be clear, from a cost control standpoint, you can't issue a $6,000 subcontract on a $5,000 line item, but you can absolutely issue a $4,500 subcontract on a $5,000 item and make that $500 profit. That's how this industry works. You're able to buy down some of your supplies and services without the owner seeing your margin and markup. That was part of our responsibility as a vision wall in the system, vision wall in the system.
Yeah, so not only are you taking away that burden of for the builders who are opening different bank accounts and reusing bank accounts for different projects open, you're taking all of that off the administrator or bookkeeper's plate They don't have to worry about transferring funds manually because your bank accounts are smart bank accounts that are going to have it all automated. And then
Mhm.
we're also saving ourselves from cash flow issues because you're only spending company or project A money on project A expenses. It's literally
Absolutely.
impossible to do the rob Peter to pay Paul, which a lot of builders who are not managing their cash well find themselves in this position where they're in a constant cash flow scramble. And so this makes it impossible.
And just you can see this in the gestation of the where the journey was, because when I was opening bank accounts down at Wells Fargo, at one point I remember I was traveling around my office or traveling around my MSA with 7 different checkbooks, 7 different debit cards, 7 different checkbooks. But I told my owners one very specific thing. I said, "Look, this is your bank account. You're going to fund it. And if there's no funds in here, don't yell at me that I'm not on the job site. Like, that's not how this works. Your job, your responsibility in this is to fund this bank account." And so when I did that, the stress was lifted. I was able to focus because there's only 3 inputs in any project. There's labor, there's material, and there's cash. That's the only 3 inputs. No matter what project you're on, there's 3 inputs. And if we are able to automate one of the inputs, then we can focus on the other two. My stress level went down. My focus was laser focused because I knew I no longer had to worry about how am I going to pay for my subcontractors or material. I just knew that I had to get them in the right schedule part, in the right place with all the material that they needed, and they would excel. And it was a liberating feeling, and I'll never go back.
One of the things some of the leaders of the remodeling industry talk about is not leaving much on the table for punch lists, right? Having a very small, like $5,000 as the final payment of a huge project. So it's more like a token, that says we acknowledge that there's might be some things the owner wants us to fix or do, but not leaving a big payment as at the end, because what we find also is remodelers in these positions where either they have invoices that are getting very past due because the homeowner isn't paying the bills, and so we've got past due invoices, or people that try to hold those final payments and keep the builder on the line for sometimes a year while they're trying to appease this client. And I see that your system also negates that issue because it's like you got to pay to play. You got to put your money in the bank account or nothing gets done, right? That's just how it works. And
We're asking them to do one very simple thing. We're asking them to fund the project for which they've contracted us to perform. That's all. We're not asking them for anything real. Think about this for a second. What other industries do you know where you can consume and enjoy all the fruits and all the labor and all the benefits before you pay for it? Like, there's very few. I've had people say fine dining. I'm like, well, okay, dine and dash, yeah, that's a thing, but then you're washing dishes. But there's very few industries left where we carry the stress, the financial burden. Now, if it's paid when paid, now the sub is carrying the financial stress and the financial burden. But most of us are good contractors. We pay and then wait to get reimbursed. And I just don't think that that's the right solution. It's not the right thing. And even more so, another opportunity that we brought up was change orders. Our process and our system handles change orders as well. Change orders are paid for, funded by the owner at the time of the change order. A change order is not just recorded and then put in the back and then we'll figure it out later. It's like, no, you have to strike while the iron is hot.
mhm.
Somebody wants you to move. They go, hey, why aren't you on my job site? And you go, hey, you haven't funded phase 3. I can't move on my subcontractors. I can't engage these subs until you give me the funds to do my job. And I think that's what we're asking people to do, is we're asking everybody to assume and own their role so that the owner can do his job, which is to fund the job, allowing the contractor to own his role, because we're not banks. I don't know many contractors that want to be a bank. I think they want to do what they got in this business to do, which is to work with their subcontractors, work with their suppliers, build beautiful things, and not have the financial stress. And this is what that does: is it eliminates it. It's every project gets its own build wallet. It's dedicated. It's isolated. It's super simple, but it really is a mind shift as opposed to the the jambalaya financial approach, right? Everything goes in a pot and it makes and that I think is a recipe for disaster, and that's why I want to help our industry.
Yeah. And you had also said, for those people who are watching this going, well, I use subs, but a lot of the work is payroll labor people. It works the same way, right? You as the builder prove that your staff did the work to release the funds. Yeah.
Well, so each different and just to be clear, everyone, the subcontractors, the suppliers, the contractors, everyone, they also get an account in Evolve Bank and Trust too. That's how we move the money, right? So what you would do in a contractor that's self-performing a lot of the work, you would open up a subcontractor account as well using a different email address, and you would then have the ability to have it on your phone or whoever the site superintendent, whoever's managing that part of work, and you treat yourself just like a subcontractor with the approval process, the photos, because as the photos are taken, they all go on the photo wall and everyone in the project can see that. And what we realized was subcontractors are very proud of their work. They don't want to catfish. They're not going to catfish their work. They're proud of it. And so everyone gets to have that constantly updating photo wall as these documentations are being submitted, as these documents are being submitted and photos taken. So again, engaging yourself as both a contractor and a sub allows you to do just that and officially set it up because you've obviously priced that out to your owner. They're going to fund it. You're going to do the work, submit your pictures just like any other sub would, and then pay yourself what you would agree to.
Now, some of you watching this video are familiar with the book Profit First. The Profit First model says every deposit you get, you split it out between, what you're going to give the owner for distributions, the materials, da, 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 da. Profit First is basically embedded in BuildWallet because all the money's flowing and getting things paid ahead of time. So that final payment coming to you once it's authorized by the homeowner is the overhead profit. And of course, you can put that in different bank accounts, but there's no need to have a job materials bank account and this bank account and that bank account because BuildWallet is making sure that these things are paid instantaneously, right? Even you can set up things for materials as well.
It's really a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach. And I think you and I can both agree that proactivity is always better than reactivity. And I think we've had a reactive nature with a negative cash flow because we're always upside down. We're always trying to catch up. And a lot of people, and I've talked to people in Remodelers Advantage and Home Builders Association, the whole 9 yards, and they're like, well, that's why we overbill by 10%. So we're never this, we're never that. I said, that's just a fight. Like what we really need to do is have a tool like a BuildWallet that is disinterested in from both parties and is just trying to execute solid project practice. That's our goal. We want to establish trust. We want to build faster, but it needs to be something that everyone plays by the same rules and it's consistent that you can use whether you're building a doghouse or a skyscraper. The same policies, practices, and procedures will keep everybody safe, everybody transparent, and they can all focus on the work and getting the build done as fast as possible. That's what we're here to promote.
Yeah. And these bank accounts are tracked in the accounting system because they're, owned by the company. And you're probably saying, well, wait a minute, then how does this information in BuildWallet end up in JobTread or somewhere else? Well, the answer is if you're using QuickBooks Online, I don't think desktop was going to work in this case, but if you're using QuickBooks Online, there's a CSV file that you will get from BuildWallet that you can import into your system. Now, one thing that I want to show everybody, because I haven't promoted this before, some, fairly exciting news. You should see a QuickBooks Online window here, and I'm in a fake bank feed. This is my fake design build company. As promised, the updates have occurred in the bank feed so that you can now choose a service item and a customer name. So we got Cindy Lauper's remodel going on here and project management. We can choose these things in the bank feed. So Jake's team is working on an upgrade to also provide us with this product service account that you can actually define in BuildWallet. So they're developing it right now, comes out maybe September, right, Jake? Your next big
Correct.
push of updates. So Jake has nicely provided us with this because I know y'all are going to want it. So BuildWallet is actually going to bring in the service item, aka cost code, and then we have the customer name as well. And these things can be added. So the CSV file comes into the bank feed here in QuickBooks Online, and then you can double check that this information is accurate before actually adding it in. And so that's really going to be quite lovely. I'll stop sharing now. Since QuickBooks Online did get that upgrade implemented, and now BuildWallet is going to do the same thing, so that by next month, we'll be able to import information into the system with all the categorizations we need, specifically cost codes and customer names. And so I think that's going to be huge. I will say, we talked about this before, Jake. We know that the homeowners have an incentive to keep these projects funded so they're actually completed. I do realize that for some of you, you're in states where it's actually illegal to get money up front, and you're not getting the money up front. They're just putting it in the bank account. You're not actually getting paid until after the subs and stuff are paid, and you're getting your overhead and profit from that. So I think those of you in California and places like that, you can use BuildWallet just fine because you're not getting paid in advance. But the bank accounts are getting funded, and that's what is huge for us. The other thing that I'll say about this is I would encourage all of you to put in your contract language that if the homeowner delays funding of the project in the next phase, that means the whole thing is delayed. Now, I do know for some of you, you're in states that once you start the project, you're not allowed to actually stop it, which is pretty wild. But Jake, have you run into any people asking you about that component of what if the homeowner just stops funding and you're kind of
Uh,
water?
yeah, they do, and I think that I think it goes back into our old habits where we sit there and we go, okay, well, how do we keep moving forward? How, and again, this is a tool, and if used properly, it can really relieve a lot of stress and really streamline and provide some rails. I love that term, provide rails to your financial system. But like any tool, you can absolutely violate it and not use it and then start going and I highly recommend that you don't do that. And I think that what was very important to us was being a disinterested third party, right? Having a set of rules, having a framework in place, having a financial framework in place that everybody understands is for the benefit of the project. A lot of people ask us and they go, well, who are you working for? Are you working for the contractor? And I said, kind of. Are you working for the sub? Well, yeah, kind of too. Oh, what about the owner? Yeah, we are actually motivated to make sure the project continues to succeed. Our model is one of compensation. We believe that you pay for value received. So as a digital transactional situation, we only get paid when money is moving through the platform. There is no fee, there is no sign up, there is no subscription. This is not a platform. This is a smart project bank account. So we only get paid. BuildWallet only makes money when money is moving through the platform. And so we are the biggest cheerleaders to make sure that everything is moving and everything continues to move forward. So we will push that as far as we can with owners, contractors, lenders, the whole bit.
And that fee that hits, I believe you said that earlier in the video, but the fee that hits, it hits because when the builder gets their payment, overhead profit payment, that's when you all take a 3% fee from that, right? And is that the
Correct.
only time there's a fee is when the builder
It,
gets paid?
when the party receiving the funds receives the funds, so it's only paid when paid. So if the subcontractor in this example was to invoice for $1,000, they would receive their $1,000, and then that 3% payment would then be extracted, just like it is with QuickBooks, just like it is with credit card payments. We wanted to follow that methodology because we understood that, much like everyone else, I hate paying for things in the anticipation of getting value. I want to pay for something that's giving me value. And so there's not a blanket 3%. It's only on the money that receives. So a lot of contractors have even asked me and said, well, you're charging me fees on, and I said, no, no, no. It's only on the fee on the funds that you receive. And I think you'll agree that for the transactional fee amount due, we've gone ahead and we've reduced your stress. We've replaced your accounts payable person. We've replaced your accounts receivable person. And not only that, but we've also severely streamlined and energized your subcontractors and suppliers by giving them a platform that they feel confident and comfortable moving forward to. And I think that that's worth that 3%, if not more than that. So I'm a big proponent of value. If I can't earn your trust and earn your value with this 3%, then it just like anything else, it's a each BuildWallet is independent. If we haven't earned your business, you don't have to get another BuildWallet. You don't have to keep going.
Mhm.
We want to continue to make it very easy for you to sign up and use one, and also very easy to leave if we're not holding our end of the bargain.
Yeah, so I think a 3% fee, like if I was a subcontractor, I would happily pay a 3% fee to get my money instantaneously, right? And so
Instant.
that's really what you're saying here is it's much like any merchant fee. For those of you who are accepting payments with credit cards and things like that right now, it's the same kind of merchant fee. In this case, it's all done with ACH. And so the money is moving from the owner of the home, put in the bucket, go into the subs, go into the builder, and the 3% fees on all the money that's moving out of the bank account. But it's what we would pay if we were using PayPal, right? Or
Yep.
QBO merchant fee, merchant services, anything like that, you'd be paying at least 3% for those services as well. So I feel like you're doing a really good one-to-one matchup there. Yeah.
I want to add value, and if I can't earn your business, I understand. But yeah, that's our goal. And we did some surveys, we did some analysis, and we started talking about different pricing models. But we have a lot in common with those digital payment and those digital merchant providers. And I said, this is something everyone already agrees. A lot of subcontractors came back to us and said, look, when we submit our invoices, we don't know if we're going to get a credit card or a check. So the fee is already built in. And so a lot of subs said, no, we're not going to increase the cost by using BuildWallet. It's a new revenue stream, a different revenue stream coming to them. So, yep. And that was the point. We wanted to make it easy.
Yeah. So for those of you who struggle with cash flow, especially those of you who end up with a whole bunch of loans on your balance sheet because you weren't managing cash flow well, for those of you who struggle with getting the subcontractor bills and you're waiting 2, 3 months after the project's done to get those bills from the subcontractor, this app is for you. This is meant to help you out. And so I hope some of you take advantage of BuildWallet and can work with Jake here to get these smart contracts in place so that you know how the money's flowing. You're not using your own money on client projects, and we don't have these big lag times between when the work gets done and the money flows. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity, and I'd be willing to help anybody. And that's the whole goal is we're trying to provide some structure, some process, and a tool for our financial future, so that we can build more and do more successfully. That's the goal. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. So check out the other video where Jake's doing an overview of how the app works and contact him. I'll make sure you guys have contact information and the website, and so you can get signed up for your own BuildWallet. Thanks so much, Jake.
Thank you so much.